Hi guys, happy Tuesday, Chef Kevin Belton here, and I am trying to get you ready for National Prosecco Day, which is Thursday. Now, Prosecco, you have all heard of champagne. Well, Prosecco is an Italian sparkling wine, but instead of calling it champagne, it's called Prosecco. So today, I'm going to make a Prosecco chicken in a cream sauce. I tell you what, gang, this is going to be really good. Now, I know a lot of you all cook with wine, all right? Whether it's a red wine or white wine. This is a little different because it's a sparkling wine. So it adds a little bit of different flavor to it. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to do chicken. Now, you can use chicken breast, where you take a big breast and you cut it in half to make it 2 fillets, or I like thighs. I like dark meat, so I'm going to use chicken thighs. Now, the only thing I've done with our chicken thighs, I've patted them dry, used a little bit of our Creole seasoning on each side, and I have a skillet heating up. We're going to get in a little olive oil, and it's important what we want to do. You can see that pan is hot, it's smoking. We want to get our chicken started in the pan by browning it off, okay? You know, this is one of those recipes when we hear about searing and browning off. The reason we want to do this is because it's going to create a crust, but it's going to help get our chicken cooked, but our chicken is going to stay nice and moist and juicy on the inside. The other thing, this is a good opportunity to show you something, the fact that when we put something in a pan, don't move it. If I would have put that in the middle, then had to move it over, it would have stuck. So when you put something in a pan, leave it there, it'll create its own crust, and that way, when you get ready to turn it, it's easy to turn. Now, I'm going to do each of these for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. I want to get them cooked, not all the way through, but most of the way through. So we want to saute them off on each side for at least 3 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to start sauteing some mushrooms to go in the dish. You notice, gang, on our chicken on both sides, got that nice brown sear to it, okay? That's what we're looking for. So now let's take this out of the pan. We'll get this out of our skillet. We're going to put this on a plate right here. Now I'm using, I forgot what kind of mushrooms I'm using. I'm using baby portobellos. I had a moment there, you know. You can use button mushrooms, any kind of mushroom you like. Now I'm going to throw a little butter in the pan. And we've got some goodies sauteing that's stuck in the bottom of the pan from the chicken. Now with this butter, we're going to get our mushrooms in. And we're going to saute our mushrooms just long enough to get them to get soft, okay? Now, if you're wondering, hey, do I have to have mushrooms in this dish? No, you don't. You don't have to have mushrooms in this dish, okay? If you want to use another vegetable, if you want to use a little, I like asparagus a lot of times. Well, you could throw in some asparagus at this point. Cut the asparagus, just saute it off for a little bit. Throw in some broccoli if you want to do it with broccoli. But I love mushrooms, and I love all different types of mushrooms, okay? But you can see in our pan, in our skillet, how our mushrooms are already getting soft, all right? Come take a look at this. And you notice we haven't put any more seasoning in yet, because this is something that we can always adjust at the end, all right? So here, once I get our mushrooms done, I'm going to put them on top of our chicken, and when we come back, we'll be to our next step of getting our Prosecco chicken done. We'll see you in a minute. Hi guys, look, I've put our mushrooms on top of our chicken that we had sauteing off. Now I'm just going to keep this covered because I just want to keep all of this warm. And I'm just going to set it over here on the side. So that's just with foil to keep covered. Now I'm going to start sauteing a little shallot. If you haven't seen shallots in the grocery store, I'm sure you've seen these in the grocery stores, okay? The difference between a shallot and a regular onion, like a yellow onion, shallots have almost like a delicate, kind of a sweet taste with just a little bit of a hint of a sharp bite to it, okay? So they can be used just like you would use onions, except just make sure you use the same amount of them, okay? Now, if I wanted a stronger flavor, You could use like a yellow onion or a white onion, and that'll have a much stronger flavor than the shallot. So when you see recipes called for shallots, they just want a nice, delicate flavor to them. And here, remember, we sauteed the mushrooms in a little butter. There's still a little butter in the pan, okay? So we don't need too much in there, just that little bit is fine. And I'm gonna put in some garlic. Now, garlic, you can crush it, you can press it. If you wanna just take your knife, smash your garlic, and just give it a few chops, you know, just mince it this way. That's one way that'll give garlic flavor. Now, garlic has a strong flavor when you mince it like that, okay? Sometimes what I like to do is I like to just take a whole clove, and instead of mincing it, just slice it. When you slice garlic, it's a very, very delicate flavor, okay? So it depends on how you want your garlic. Do you want to have it a strong flavor, or do you want a nice, delicate flavor to it? So just take a knife, be careful with your fingers, and slice it real thin. So now that our shallots are done, let's go ahead and get this garlic in. And you know, with garlic doesn't need to go in a pan too long, you know, all right? Garlic, we just need to stir this around for not even a minute, okay? But you can smell that flavor. So now it's time to get in our Prosecco, all right? Now the other thing this is gonna do, remember, Prosecco is a sparkling wine, all right? And if you don't have a Prosecco, you can do this with a white wine. You can do this with a red wine. It'll change it up some, but the whole idea is use that Prosecco. So if you come look really close, when I get this in, now I'm gonna try not to fog up the lens, but we had some little goodies that stuck down there from when we sauteed that chicken. By getting the liquid in, that's when you hear deglazing. Deglazing is getting those little goodies up off the bottom of the pan. Now, I want this to saute. I've got kind of a medium heat here, but I'm going to turn this down, and I want to saute this roughly for about 10 minutes. Now, the reason I'm sauteing it for 10 minutes, it's going to get those flavors to blend together. It's deglazed the bottom of the pan, but also it's going to reduce some of the moisture, and plus we'll get rid of that alcohol. Because when you cook with alcohol, if you don't heat up enough, you're going to have an aftertaste of alcohol in it. So that's why we want to reduce this down. And people say, well, you're cooking out the alcohol? Well, I tell you what, if you need to drink that bad, just have a drink, okay? But here, it's all about the flavors. So we're going to reduce this down, and when we come back, we're going to finish this off with our heavy cream and get our chicken mushrooms back in. Oh my, look at our flavors intensified. And you might be saying, hey, where'd all that Prosecco go? That's okay. That's okay, because the flavor's still there. The flavor's in those onions. Now, let's get in our heavy cream. I'm gonna get in our cream, and I'm gonna turn the fire up, okay? Now, I'm using heavy cream. If you want, you could do this with milk, all right? The thing about using milk, it's not gonna have that same thickness as cream. So if you wanna use milk, I would take about a tablespoon of cornstarch in a little cold water, mix that together, put that in your milk once you get your milk in the pan, and that way that'll help your sauce get nice and thick, okay? So here, I want this to heat up. You notice I'm also still working the bottom of that pan, making sure all those little goodies have gotten up off the bottom of the pan, okay? Now, this won't take long to finish. You can see it's already starting to come back up to a boil. We don't need it too hot, but I just like those flavors to get there. I like this to reduce down a little bit and thicken up a little more. But we're gonna get in our chicken and our mushrooms, and look at the juice that was made there. That's fine, that's just flavor. That's more flavor from the mushrooms, that's more flavor from the chicken. So let's get this in. Come on, get in there. And let me get a different type spoon. You know, Mama said you gotta clean as you go. I can't help but always try to tidy up that little bit of a mess there. But look, here, you know, you can turn your pieces of chicken over just to make sure they get coated with that cream. And you see, this sauce is not too thick. It's not too thin. I think it's just kind of right, all right? Now, what's nice is we can take this. There are so many different ways that we can serve this if you like, all right? If we want to put this on top of some pasta, we can put it on top of some pasta. If you want to make a scallop potatoes, use a scallop potatoes. If you want to use a mashed potato, use a mashed potato, all right? Or you could just serve it like good old Louisianians, how we do it. We just serve it over rice, all right? So here, our chicken, remember, when we browned it off on both sides, that chicken got cooked pretty much all the way through. If you decide to do this for company, all right, and you need to make a big pan of this, go ahead, get it to this point, but then I'd go ahead and put it in the oven. Just real low, just to stay warm. That way you won't reduce and lose all your cream and it'll get too thick. But if you do decide to leave it on top of the stove, just leave it on really, really low. And if need be, you can always add another little splash of cream or milk to it, all right? The other thing I suggest at this point here, taste it. See it, because you know, cream is fairly bland. I seasoned the chicken pretty good, so I'm counting on the seasoning coming off the chicken to help season this, all right? But go ahead, give it a taste, adjust the seasoning where you need to, and look, I have a little bit of green onion, a little bit of parsley that we could just sprinkle right on the top. And now we can take our pan and just bring this right to the table and serve it right out of the pan, serve it kind of family style. So I tell you what, this is so good. That Prosecco flavor's down in there. It's not going to overpower. So keep washing those hands. Keep masking up. For WWO, I'm Chef Kevin Belton. Have yourself a fantastic Tuesday. We'll see you soon.